Not only is this an awesome Paul Gilbert lick, it is actually the picking lick, which Paul Gilbert himself used to gain the monstrous alternate picking ability that he is famous for. By the end of this video, you'll learn exactly how to play this lick, some easy ways to use it in your solos, and Paul Gilbert's very own weird but effective practice approaches that can get you playing this lick at insane speeds. So super slow, the lick sounds like this. This is in A minor, by the way. So here we have our A minor pentatonic box. And here is the 1-3 shape of the lick. And we're going to be starting here on the G and D strings. This pattern obviously works on any two strings, but these are our middle two strings, so that's why they're always our favorite string pair to start with. For this lick to work as intended, we start with an upstroke on the higher string. So it goes up, and then down, up, down, up, down, up. But if you really want to start with a downstroke, you can start from the bottom of the pattern like this, which is kind of an inversion of this lick, which we'll talk more about later. Let's have a listen to a short solo where I use this same pattern in a few different ways, and then we'll break each one down. These are just minor scale notes because we have A, our root note, and then we have minor 7, minor 6, and 5th. Then I move on to use these blues scale notes up here. And here I'm alternating that top note between the minor 7 and the root. In this case, G and A. And when I play that A, I'm using a finger roll with my third finger like this. And then I finish that on the minor 3rd here. And then I'm descending through the Paul Gilbert scale, which I'll also talk about more later. And with each string pair, I'm just applying this same pattern. And by the way, as always, all the tabs and backing tracks for all of this is free when you sign up for the newsletter, link in the description. So obviously when it comes to applying this pattern to different scales, there's endless creative possibilities. But what about getting that face-melting speed? The thing is, when I first came to learn this lick, I could already alternate pick really fast on one string. But in spite of being able to do that already, when I first tried this lick, it still felt harder than doing the splits across two moving trucks. And for me, that was probably because I was ignoring the mechanics. So you may have noticed that because of how the up and down strokes land, this lick is what's known as an outside picking pattern. And I've gone into more detail on inside and outside patterns and pick slanting in this video here, if you want to dive deeper into that. But essentially, in this pattern, each time we change a string, we have to move the pick past the string that we're about to play, and then we move the string back towards to play it. I play an upstroke on the G string, and now my pick has to come past the D string and catch it on the way back with a downstroke. And then I play my 4 notes here. And then the same thing happens on the way back up, because I'm going to play a downstroke, and then I'm going to go past the G string to catch it with an upstroke as I come back towards it. Okay? That's why it's an outside picking lick. So in terms of mechanics, here's what's worked for me and what I recommend for this lick. So we start with this upstroke, and we use a downward pick slant or upward pick escape to get to the lower string. I come out of the plane of the strings with my upstroke like this, a little bit away from the strings. I'm going to, of course, exaggerate all of these motions so that they're visible to my cameras. Up and out the strings. Then I come down to play these 5 notes, but on that last one, then I switch to an upward pick slant with a downward pick escape to get back to where I started. But here's the interesting part. As we loop this, when we play that single note on the higher string, we're actually changing the slant as we play that one note. And this is sometimes called a snap motion. So I'm actually going to demonstrate this exaggerating the motion a lot, right? So as I play this top note, can you see I'm basically doing this big scooping motion, because the last thing I want to happen is that I play this upstroke and I go through the string below. You'll hear this a lot when people are trying to play this lick for the first time. So if you can hear that, that open D string is playing when I do the upstroke. And we don't want that. We want to be playing each individual note, like cleanly. Now remember though, that mechanics are just a means to an end. So the outcome that we want is we want to be able to play this lick cleanly, meaning that we aren't playing those other notes or strings that we don't mean to play. And we want to be able to play it in the pocket and be able to play it loud and quiet and with and without palm muting. And all of this pain-free and consistently, hopefully. If you're able to achieve all of that with different mechanics, that is totally fine with me. If you're just getting started with this pattern, we want to start with our traditional slow practice. So make sure that the highest and lowest note in the pattern are landing exactly on that metronome click. So we're going to have a click, 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 click. This downstroke at the bottom, that's a click, and the top note is a click. So it's going to sound like this. And this keeps you locked in the pocket. And over time, you can use that traditional slow practice method of just very gradually increasing the speed. So here we have the same thing at 100. And then 120. But sooner or later, we'll reach a tempo where instead of playing 3 notes to a beat, we can switch it to the full pattern. There's 6 notes to a beat. Let's say that we reached 160. This is a good place to do it. What I can do is I can just halve that tempo, but play at the same speed and play twice as many notes to the beat. That'll sound like this. And we can keep increasing the tempo from here, but somewhere around this speed is where we're going to want to also include, as well as just loops, we're going to want to include burst speed practice for this, which I'll talk about in a moment. We don't always have to push the speed as well. We can hang out here and really work on our dynamics and make sure that we're in the pocket. For example, I'm here. I might try and work on my dynamics a little bit. I might try and work on a little bit of palm muting. And now I'm going to dig in and back off. All the time, I'm making sure that I'm right in the pocket. So you could, for instance, practice a loop like that for 1 minute on each string pair, and that's 5 minutes in total, which is a solid chunk of focused practice at a relatively slow speed for you, whatever tempo you choose. But probably even more powerful is burst speed practice. So what is that, and how does it apply to this lick? Well, it sounds like this. I'm going to pick a speed. For many of you will be very fast. You probably will only be able to play 1 beat at this speed. So it looks like this. We just play the pattern 1 time, playing the first note of the next pattern again at the end. So we have that exact same note land on each beat. If this feels completely impossible, before you lower the speed, try this first. There's a little progression where we're just going to start with a tremolo, so we're only going to focus on the right hand. We're just working on getting that burst of 6 notes with just the right hand at first. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do that exact same thing, but now we're going to start and end with an upstroke, because that's how our lick is going to be. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to introduce these chromatic notes, which just go down and up like this. Okay, a little spider motion. So what we're doing now is we're introducing synchronization and the left hand, but we're still doing it all on 1 string, so it's still a lot easier. And then guess what? We do that starting and ending on an upstroke. Now try the Paul Gilbert lick again at that same tempo, and it should feel a little bit more manageable. But another thing that helped me a lot that you could also try was an approach that Paul Gilbert himself teaches. I suppose you could call it a upstroke only swing. So you're just playing this like swing rhythm, but only upstrokes. And then what you do is you can progress that and put in little triplets like this. And I'm using that same note that I play at the top of the pattern. So After spending some time with that, you might find that the lick feels a lot smoother and more natural. I would say that the reason is because the motion that we use to reset those upstrokes is very similar to that snap motion that I talked about when we went over the mechanics. So you can also practice the bursts starting and ending on different notes of the pattern. Here are some variations that I use. The traditional one. And then you can start at the bottom. And then you can do these odd ones as well. So it's the same exact loop, but the burst is starting and ending on different notes, and really helps on keeping the timing even so that you aren't dropping notes as you reach those higher speeds. By the way, I would love to know which of them you found easiest and which you found the hardest. Comment that below, and if you've got time for these things, then even better. But what kind of mechanics would we use while playing a lick like this? Click this video to find out and get a deeper dive into not only these licks, but how to really bulletproof your alternate picking.